Hello, everyone, whoever's out there, if anybody's out there. This is the movie chat show again with myself, and this week again, Tim Allen, two of us. And I'm going to I've already put a link out there. If anybody that wants to talk movies wants to join us. And, I hate this part, saying this part, but I always do. I say, if I know you, and, you want to come up, we can do it, So we don't have Tom joining us again. He was unable to make it again. But last time we had a guest, 4D Man, and that was a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens this week. I know for me, I went to the theater and I saw a movie at the theater. I saw it twice already. There's a possibility I may see it a third time on Wednesday if my friend Anthony is able to go, which I'm going basically for him. The movie I'm talking about is Epic. It's EPIC, Elvis Presley in concert. It really is a spectacle in the sense of it should be seen on a big screen with the amazing sound. I cannot see that being duplicated at home. If you have a big enough TV screen and you happen to have a good sound system and make it surround sound, it will maybe come close to it. But I really enjoyed that. And I'll talk about it a little bit later on. Right now we got Cherry Carter here. Hello. And GS Publishing Direct. Hello. Mike Wall-Jasper. Howdy. I saw Monster from Green Hell last week. Fantastic, cheesy monster fun. I haven't seen that in ages. I think I remember it sucking the big one, but I'm not really sure about that, meaning that a boring one.
I don't think I've seen it.
If I'm not mistaken, I think. Hello, George. What's the good word with you?
Hello, George.
All righty. So I wanted to talk a little bit. I'll talk a little bit to start out with for anybody here. Give me a second. Epic. Seen it on IMAX. Absolutely. Going back to see it at a regular theater. Then hopefully in the future on my TV. Okay, I'm going to talk about Epic first. Elvis Presley in concert. I'm an Elvis fan, but I'm more of a Beatles fan. I don't believe the nonsense that you can't be a fan of both. I don't believe that. But the joke was always you could be a fan of both, but you can't like them equally, or something like that. You got to be a Beatles person or an Elvis person. If that's the case, I'm more of a Beatles person. However, I want people to know, even though you're watching my movie channel, I have not yet talked about Epic. I have not made a video here about Epic. I may. But right now, if anybody doesn't know, I have a main channel, which is a music channel, and it's called Mean Mr. Mayo. So if you want to go over to Mean Mr. Mayo and check it out, I did a proper review over there. So go over to that channel, please. One of the newest videos. You can't miss it. It's got Elvis Presley starting out, a little bit of a biography. Starts out a little bit with a kind of a montage you expect. I almost thought it's very perfunctory, that it's, let's go through the motions, Elvis starting out, getting into music, starting to sing as a youth, and then eventually getting on the Ed Sullivan Show, and he becomes a movie star, and he winds up making a lot of crappy movies during the 60s because he's stuck in a thankless movie contract, and then he gets out of the contract. Then when he gets out of the contract, it gets to the heart of Epic, which is about Elvis Presley on stage in Vegas. And it's those years, really like 1969 and the early 70s. There's a lot of that. So there's some new footage in it. I mean, I'm not an Elvis expert, but if it was a Beatles film, I could tell you what I've never seen before. I don't know which stuff is. I think a lot of the stuff we've seen already. I know I have. But some of it I haven't seen. I don't know how much of it's new, but it was really good. And I was saying earlier when I first got on here that I didn't see it in IMAX. I missed IMAX, but I absolutely loved it anyway in the standard screen edition. It really is great on the big screen. The sound is amazing. To me, it's the best way to see it. And what I really got out of it was Elvis, the I don't know, the great talent, Elvis the person, his personality, his humor, the way he loves his fans and the way his fans love him, and how giving he was to his fans. And I get the feeling Elvis always understood that he has this kind of gift and this power, and people look up to him like, starstruck, and he's willing to give of himself, meaning he goes out into the audience, goes around kissing all the girls in the audience and stuff like that. And it really comes across the power, the magnetism, the charisma, the aura about him. It's just incredible. And what a showman, how he can command an audience, and just great on stage, great act, live act. It really worked. So I really liked it. I think when I did my review, it was the first time I saw it, and I was like, yeah, it's good, but it's not great. I still stand by that. I think it's good and not really great, but good, solid, and worth seeing. But yeah, everybody seems to like it. So that's how I feel about Epic. Let's see. That's ridiculous, as I am a fan of both the Beatles and Elvis, a huge fan. There you go. Wasn't Get Back on IMAX. I saw the rooftop concert. They had the rooftop concert alone on in the theater. Like 40 minutes or whatever the heck, 45 minutes. It was just a short thing. Of course, you can like both. Yeah. Epic shows the power of the man, the control of the man. That's right, control, talent, beauty of the man, and what a backing band. Absolutely, the backing band is sensational. Does Tim like the movie Westworld, not the god-awful reboot?
I haven't seen it in so long. I liked it, I think, but I mean, I haven't seen it literally since probably the early 80s or the late 70s.
I'm going to talk about that too, Westworld, so hang on for that. Hi, 4D man, there he is. Was Colonel Tom Parker featured much? I get the feeling Parker helped Elvis early, then held him back. That's exactly what I think. I think that he helped him early and he held him back big time. Made him, he kind of like made him do the movies because he wanted to get soundtrack albums. He was under contract, right, Tim?
Oh, he definitely helped him back, held him back because he was an illegal immigrant. So he held him back. Elvis could have toured the world, could have and should have toured the world. And they would have made a hell of a lot of money from that. But Colonel Tom Parker couldn't go with him and wouldn't send him out without him. So he never did. And that's right there. Right. That's a shame.
Yeah. And they make it a point, near the end of the movie, saying that Elvis never toured outside of North America. No. I think it said, they made it a point of saying that, and Elvis interview clips, because the movie has, home movie footage, interview clips, backstage, in the studio rehearsals, on stage concerts, everything. And they make a point of saying, he'd like to play England and and so forth, but he never could, and and of course I believe, is it true that Colonel Tom Parker held Elvis back from doing the remake of A Star Is Born, or am I mistaken? The Barbra Streisand movie.
I don't know what happened with that, but I do know that Elvis was considered for that role. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he wanted to do it. Well, there's definitely an interview in there. I'm guessing it's from like 1971 or 2, where he's asked about, you're going to make any more movies, and he says he would like to. Better than the ones that he's made. He would like to do this. So he would like to do better movies. And anyway, 4D man, though, when you say, was he featured much? He's not featured much. There's a little segment later on where there's a little bit about him. You know what I mean? they cover a little bit about him just for a couple of minutes, maybe tell you who he was and everything. The monsters in Green Hell were giant wasps. Radiation grew them. Yep. Have you seen the Internet Movie Database top 25 films? And if so, do you agree with it? Do you know what that list is? I don't know what's on the list.
No, probably knowing the people that mostly use it and so on. It's probably all films from the last 25 years. No, not interested. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But it's probably, no.
Elvis belonged on stage, not on film. Now, I'm a film fan. And I tell you, I very much enjoy watching Elvis's movies, even the stupid ones. I enjoy them. I think it's funny to see him in comical situations. I think what he wanted to be, he could be a pretty decent actor. I really always felt that there's some moments where he really shined dramatically. If his heart was in it, if it was a good movie, a good scene, I think he showed that. Showed that in King Creole. He showed that in Flaming Star. Even some scenes of Charo and stuff like that. I think he could have done it. But he covered in the film, in the montage before we get to the concert stuff. He talks about that, how upset he was doing the movies and everything, I should mention that the film Epic, it's all narrated by Elvis. They had a movie out, I think 1981, a documentary called This Is Elvis. And that was not Elvis's voice. It had Elvis's voice, a similar thing, but I think it was Raul Donner. Somebody, one of the impersonators was doing Elvis's voice to it. I think as a biography, an autobiography, I think This Is Elvis is better. This new one is more of a concert film, which is the difference, But Elvis narrates the whole thing. They use his words, and however they put it together to make it work. They do that. So, but anyway, so I didn't mind him being in film. Just that I just wish it had been better for him. Yeah, he was responsible for Elvis not appearing in A Star Is Born. That's why, as much as I love Elvis got a fantastic voice, in my opinion, and as much as I love Elvis's rendition of the song My Way, I always joke around and say he sings My Way great, but I never believe Elvis did it his way. Elvis didn't do anything his way. He did everything the way they told him. The Colonel in particular made him do it. So, well, not always. Later on, that's another thing. Let me mention that another good thing about the movie is you get to see him. He really has a lot of pull. I can't think of the right words. The way he instructs the musicians, you see him instructing the musicians how he wants things to go, orchestrating things, coordinating. So yeah, he has a lot to do and say in the studio and in the rehearsals and everything. So I consider the Beatles cool in fashion, hair, accents, the whole look. I never considered Elvis cool in the same way. I do, I guess, but not everybody would. Some people they consider him more cool. I think Matthew Street said something in his video, and I agreed. I was thinking the same thing. That as much as I love the Beatles, and you say the Beatles are like, the different thing with the Beatles is, and these are apples and oranges. They're two different things. They're talking about a group versus a single man, right? And they're different, like an apple and an orange. You can't compare them, but the Beatles have the talent with the songwriting. Obviously, they wrote songs, and in the movie, Elvis sings. It's always great to hear him. He does Yesterday. He does Something. He does Get Back. Actually, Get Back is a medley, maybe along with Little Sister. It's like he sings Little Sister, goes into Get Back. So, but here's what I'm getting at with this point. Yeah, of course, the Beatles have that over Elvis. But I think, and Matthew Street said this, and I kind of agree with it. If you took any one of the Beatles and stood them next to Elvis, they're like pale in comparison. I mean, what I mean by that is, this is just our opinions. I don't mean like talent. I'm talking about like Elvis is such a, I hate to say, godlike presence that you put, Ringo or George or even John or Paul standing next to him, and it's like, you're just a guy, a little scruffy guy from Liverpool. This is the man. You know,
A very
like
charismatic character.
Charismatic, yeah.
Yes.
So there is that. Let's see. If you guys like dystopian movies, and I do, check out What is that? Ex Machina. If you haven't already seen it, what is that? Is that a new movie?
No,
I don't know what that is, Tim.
I don't know either.
You can't compare Elvis with Beatles. Two completely different beasts. I agree. I noticed you mentioned Tim in your record store video. I'd have snapped up all of them laserdiscs. How much were they each? Oh, I don't recall now. Sorry to say. Did I mention Tim in there? I know Tim likes laserdiscs. I don't remember mentioning it.
I haven't watched that yet. Sorry.
Maybe I said, "Oh, Tim Allen likes these" or something. I don't know. I don't remember. But all right. So we're moving along. You know, a lot of times I go first mostly because Tim has seen more movies every week than I have, if I've seen any at all. And so I'm going to talk about another movie that I've seen and again, I'm continuing my Godzilla marathon. The goal for me is, you know, I watch movies a lot that I've seen already numerous times, right? The goal is to watch new movies. But when it comes to Godzilla, I haven't seen every Godzilla movie. When you get into the more modern era, and I forget what they call it. Somebody will know. Heisei series? The Showa series is the 60s and 70s, which I know. And eventually I'll get to ones I've never seen. But anyway, this one that I watched today, I don't know if I should let me do the solo thing for this. You know, it's 1965. It's called Invasion of Astro Monster. Okay, but that's the Japanese title, but it's known pretty much as Godzilla versus Monster Zero, you know, in America and everywhere else. And these have the original Japanese version, 1965, and it was released in theaters in 1970, English dubbed. You know, it's a 65 film, but it was released here TV. I don't think it played in theaters, I don't think, 1970. Now, the American actor, Nick Adams, is in this. And I think Nick Adams was a friend of Elvis now that I think about it. And, you know, a lot of times when I'm going to watch these movies, I have an opportunity to watch those, if it's provided, the English dub. I grew up with them that way. I like them that way. So a lot of times I'll do that. And I've said before, that's for the 60s and the 70s because they weren't so bad, the dubs. But later on, when we got into the 90s, the dubs got ridiculous in more modern times. It sounded like a bunch of Valley girls in there talking. Yeah, Godzilla, you know, stuff like that. I just don't understand it. But anyhow, now, if you watch it in Japanese, because I checked out both versions, Japanese with English subtitles, is the way, you know, that's the way it was intended. But you don't get to hear Nick Adams with his very distinguishable voice saying things like when the aliens make somebody disappear, for example, you don't get to hear Nick Adams except in English saying, "You dirty stinking rats, what did you do to her?" You know, and it's like, "You rats, you dirty stinking rats." And I watched like that part in the original Japanese language, and you know, his voice, Nick Adams, is dubbed into Japanese for the Japanese audience, and you see his mouth, "You stinking rats." What do you? But it doesn't say that in Japanese. That's not. They have some other interpretation. What did you do? Where did she go? Why did you do this to her? Like, it doesn't say "you stinking rats." So you miss that. You miss stuff like that. But anyway, this is a film where aliens from another planet are visited by astronauts, and they need their help because the monster King Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, is, you know, making life miserable for them on this planet, and they have to live underground because the monster dwells up on the surface, and they got to hide underground. So anyway, it's a crazy typical plot for these movies. What they need is the aliens want to borrow the monsters Godzilla and Rodan, and somehow transport them to the planet so that they can defeat Ghidorah. But it turns out, I'm going to spoil it for you. Should I spoil it for you? It's a trick. It's a dirty, rotten trick. What they're going to do is they're going to send all the monsters now to Earth to attack the Earth. So that's the idea of it. I think this is a fun one. This is one of my favorite of the Godzilla films. For me, however, it does have when they're on the planet, Godzilla when he fights Ghidorah, him and Rodan are transported initially to the planet X, and they do initially defeat Ghidorah. Of course, Godzilla has his victory dance that I've now incorporated into my regular clip that I use. It's fun. Absolutely absurdly ridiculous, but fun. So let's see where we are. Oh wait, this, that, and the other is there. Where's this, that, and the other? It's my nephew, but I don't see him. Oh, there he is. Okay, I'll second the X. I don't know how to say that. Okay, but that's a dystopian end of the world thing, right? Okay. 2014. All right. I watched Alive tonight, the movie about and I can't say that, Andes plane crash where they end up eating the deceased. Oh yeah, I remember that movie. I didn't see it, but I remember it. Mick Jagger called the Beatles the four-headed monster. Exactly. Well, anyway, before I let Tim speak, because this time I feel like, man, I want you to do your thing. But I'm going to talk about the Westworld movie. Before I went live here, I put up a video about this, so you can see the video. I won't show you everything that's in here. Okay, there's a new 4K disc that came out for the movie Westworld, which we were just talking about. Okay, now this to me looks like they're trying to copy the HBO series. Okay, this is from Arrow Video, and really, I encourage you to watch my video on this channel if you want to see more about this. This is a slip cover. You take it off; it's the same damn picture underneath. It's the same damn picture underneath, but I do like the back. Classic Yul Brynner in stalking mode as the humanoid robot. Okay, there's some things to see in here, some extra features, but I'll save that for the video. But one thing that I'm going to show you from it, just because I have it still pulled out, there's a poster that comes with it. Now, this is folded in there. I have no need for this, but I do have a lot of need for this. That's the original 1973 Westworld, the vacation for you. Boy, have we got a vacation for you, because it's an amusement park, a deadly amusement park of the future where robots are here to entertain. You can play cowboy and you can shoot up the robots until they go berserk. Westworld, where nothing can possibly go. WORNG. All right, that's the joke. Here's the thing about this disc. The reason why I bought it, it was like $40, so it wasn't cheap. I do not have a 4K player. This is 4K. I'm going to answer Terry's question right here. And you can check out my video, which will go into detail. I do not want to go 4K. I have no interest in 4K. I'm not going 4K, and that's going to say never. But the reason I bought it was because I thought it was a Blu-ray. It says here, I thought it was combination, because it says here, 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray limited. I thought it was, maybe that's just a term for the quality, Ultra HD Blu-ray, because I thought 4K, it was
4Ks are Blu-rays. They're just a better.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So there you go. So I learned that, and I bought it thinking that it was going to be a combo pack. Now, the only reason I bought it wasn't even for the upgrade. I bought it because there's a lot of bells and whistles and extra features here, and two of them, are interviews with stars Richard Benjamin and James Brolin. New interviews, never seen, brand new interviews on Shooting Westworld, which they've never done a commentary. They've never done any decent interviews. I don't know what these interviews are. If anybody's seen them, let me know. I don't know if they're a half an hour, if they're 5 minutes. Maybe they talk about it for 4 or 5 minutes. I don't know what it is. And I said, I got to have these interviews with those guys. And that's why I got it. Now, and even if there had been a Blu-ray in here, I don't know if their interviews would be on the Blu-ray disc or if they would have been on the 4K disc anyway. But I took a chance, and this is totally useless to me because it doesn't have a Blu-ray in it. So, I may get a 4K player, and the reason is, people say the same thing I said with Blu-ray. I had friends that did not want to upgrade to Blu-ray. They said, I'm not going to get a Blu-ray player because I got all DVDs. And I said, but wait a minute. If you get a Blu-ray player, it's a no-brainer because it'll play all your DVDs. And not only will it play your DVDs, it'll upscale them. It'll look even better. Yeah. So why not get one? What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I'm facing now with a 4K. People are telling me the same thing I told them. They're saying, get a 4K player. You don't have to buy all 4K discs. Maybe some here or there, but you can still play your Blu-rays on it, so it's a no-brainer.
DVDs. You play DVDs on them, too.
Right. So we'll see. Let's see. Oh, I love it. Terry, thank you. It was a disgrace. But I'm only judging the HBO series, the TV series, as a disgrace based on one episode. I know my nephew, I think, liked it. I tried watching the first episode of the Westworld TV series, and I was devastated. I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? I could not make any sense of it. It was convoluted. It was out of order. It was one of those things where it's a puzzle and it's all out of sequence. And later on, if you watch the whole thing, then you figure out how the parts intertwine. No, thank you. Give me the 73 movie, please. Fun and thrills all the way through. So anyway, yeah, I didn't like what I saw of it. Perfect topic, on the fence about the new Westworld 4K. The recent deluxe imported tin case Blu-ray from a few years looks great. Yeah, exactly. Westworld these days, it's a warning on AI. I love all these movies that back then it was like something that, we hope this never happens. God forbid this should happen. Look what would happen to us. And now it's happening.
Yeah.
Damn stuff is it's not science fiction anymore. I used to have the original Westworld poster. I can't even recall seeing it, but I don't have it anymore. Yeah, I have the one sheet poster. It's framed. It's in the closet. Isn't that a nice place for it? So once more, I'm just going to put the link up again, just a little encouragement for what it's worth. 4K players are not expensive, but the films are. And I've heard a lot of people, and kudos to them for being honest, the 4K people who said, some films look amazing in 4K. Some of them, they're no different.
Yep.
Some of them, you say they look worse, some of them. Yeah, that's what I always call it. That's how that's how everybody describes it, the original Terminator.
I think Westworld is the original Jurassic Park. It's written by the same guy. Too. It's an amusement park that goes awry, and it's the original Jurassic Park.
It is. It is. I watch Future World. I can tolerate Future World. I put it on from time to time, but it's in my opinion, one of the weakest, most disappointing sequels of anything that I like. Very disappointing. It has Yul Brynner coming back as the gunslinger, but it's in a dream sequence. And let me tell you, it is the most embarrassing excuse for a cameo you'll ever see. You got to, if you haven't seen Yul Brynner's, what they do with his character in the dream sequence. Too bad they couldn't rebuild him or something, but because he did make a special appearance in the movie for the dream sequence. Did we talk about this?
No.
Do you have Blu-ray?
No, I do Blu-ray. I do Blu. I don't do 4K. I do Blu-ray and DVD. I watch more DVDs than Blu-rays, so I'll be honest.
If you went to a Westworld theme park, would you still find it hard to, take out someone? No, I wouldn't find it hard. It was all make-believe. I don't know. I've never done that before, so I don't know. It's all supposed to be fun, letting out your fantasies or whatever. So that's me down. Covered all my baloney. Now, Tim, it's up to you to tell us what you watched this 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since we've been on.
It's been 2 weeks. So, okay, I'm going to start out with a film that I tried to watch. And after 20 minutes, I just said, okay, this is everything. Hey, after 20 minutes, I just said, okay, this film, I want to talk about this because to me, this encompasses everything that I don't like about modern films. I tried to watch Inception.
Inception. I know. I don't think I know it.
And I hated it. I hated it from the second it came on. It's a dream within a dream within a dream, and I'm sure by the end they're saving the world. And it's all this just stuff that doesn't make any sense to me at all. It's all 100% special effects. It's just it's not filmmaking. It's cartoon making, and I turned it off after 20 minutes and watched something else. No.
I don't blame you. That's happened to me with a lot of newer movies.
Yeah. But to me, this encapsulates everything. People say, "Why don't you like modern movies? Why don't you like modern movies?"
Right.
This right here is why I don't like modern movies.
You want to know what? I'll tell you a modern movie that I hated with a passion when I was dying through it in the theater when I saw it, and it's not so new anymore because it's almost 30 years old, and that's the Brendan Fraser Mummy. Now I don't know how you guys feel about that if you've seen it, but I just don't out of my mind.
Because I knew I wouldn't like it, so I've never.
CGI gone berserk in comedy and stupidity the whole time. What do you think, 4D man?
I'm probably more regressive than you two guys put together. I really have a hard time with any. I call it any movie after the 1980s modern. Any modern movie I struggle with. It's always it's always lots of fast cuts and lots of close-ups, no pacing. And also acting that comes from the ego, like the actors push their ego forward. I can't stand it.
And one thing I noticed on a film I'll talk about in a little bit is films used to take time, but yet for the most part they weren't the 3-hour films that we have today that don't take their time, that rush through everything, and yet they just show you so much stuff that you don't need to see, where before films would take their time, and it's just not good.
Tim, that's one of my takeaways from this new book that I've nearly finished now. It's Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train. So it's about the making of that film, Strangers on a Train, and the attention to detail that Hitchcock made in pre-production was meticulous, just absolutely meticulous. And all the time that he spent with the different screenwriters, he never gave himself an on-screen credit as a co-screenwriter, but he was there with every writer for every film, and the attention to detail that he gave illustrates the point you've just made, Tim.
Yeah, they just don't take the time. So anyway, after Inception, I put this film on, which a lot of my films are in a book, so I have the boxes, but they're stored somewhere, so I can only show the disc. But either of you might because you're British. Have you ever seen Truly, Madly, Deeply?
I don't think so. Is that a modern film, Tim?
It's early 90s. It's 91, I think.
Modern is in after the 80s.
And I'm forgetting who directed it now, but it was his first film, and it's got now I can't even think of his name. God, Alan. The villain from Die Hard is the guy on top.
Well, I know, I don't know his name, but
and this woman comes from the theater, and she's great. Anyway, really quickly, he's died, and she can't handle it, and she's going to her shrink, and is just losing it to the point where he comes back, and she's all happy and everything. But as the film goes on, I'm going to spoil it here. As the film goes on, you realize that he's basically come back to show her that he wasn't everything that she thought he was, and that he wasn't the perfect guy, and to kind of push her away. So it's really nice. It's a love story, it's a ghost story, but it's a sad love story because he pushes her kind of to somebody else, and she winds up happy and he winds up happy, and it's an interesting little British film. It's a really good film. I highly
Now,
recommend it.
what year is that about?
91.
90s? I wanted to
91.
say the 4D man, just so you know, because you've been coming on here. I don't know if you know, but Tim loves film noir and he loves older movies like as I do.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Yes.
really watch as many new modern what we call movies, but this year I tried to do it.
I watch 100. I make a list every year of 100 something, and this year it's 100 modern films. So I am watching more modern films than I usually do because I'm trying to like them more. And modern for me is 1990 and after. That's what I'm calling a modern film.
Yeah.
That's why I watched Truly Madly Deeply. That's why I tried to watch Inception. And I wish Tom was here because he really wanted me to watch this, but he said he just shook his head, and he was right. I watched Happiness, which is a modern film, and this is just as screwed up as you can get. There's nobody with any redeeming qualities in this film whatsoever.
Wow.
But it's good. It was a good film. I enjoyed it as much as you can enjoy a film like this. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it. And it was everybody's just kind of despicable. And
Tim's got a thing right about if people are not likable in a movie. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, but this is sexually despicable in most of the cases, and there's some kind of really awful things that happen in this film, and but it's a comedy. It's a dark comedy, though. That's the thing. It's a dark comedy.
So it's politically incorrect then, Tim.
Oh, it's very. I don't know if you can make it today. This is like 98 or something, and I don't know if you could make it today. We've changed that much since this was made.
Well, speaking about politically incorrect, I wanted to get this up. There was a Sex World movie too from the 70s, and I think I saw that in my days when I was watching some of those movies. You know. By the way, before we continue, is 4D man a 4K man?
I'm pretty much the same as Joe, Terry, in that I'll get a 4K if the extras are not available in any other format. But I'm a Blu-ray 1080p man mostly. I just so happen to have a 4K player, but I have a 1080p screen, and it's a 3D 1080p screen, and I'm more interested in 3D than I am in 4K. So I'm happy with what's left of my old age. I'm happy to stay with 1080p.
Okay, so then I watched this, and this was just okay. I think it should have been better. Trumbo, the movie about the writer that was, that wrote everything and was blacklisted for years and years and years and kept writing anyway. And this is 2 movies in a row where now I'm not remembering her name for some reason. And Diane Lane's great, and that's Bryan Cranston, by the way, and he's pretty good as Trumbo, actually. Better than I thought he'd be.
I thought it was Dumbo. Trumbo.
Why can't I remember? Oh, Helen Mirren. This is the second movie in a row I've watched where she just plays an awful, awful person. She needs to play some nicer people once in a while. She's awful. But anyway, this was great. This was good. It wasn't great, but it was good. It's worth watching, especially if you want to know more about the McCarthy time, McCarthy times and all that kind of stuff. but wasn't fantastic, but it was okay. Okay, now that's probably just about it for newer movies. I went on a little Steve McQueen binge, and I watched The Getaway for the first time actually.
Ah, yeah.
Um,
Sam
and
Peckinpah.
yeah, I actually not the first time. I'd seen it a long time ago, but the first time in probably 40 years. And I didn't like it the first time I ever saw it, and now I have no idea why, because this was great. It was great. And and of course, there's a movie where he met and fell in love with Alan McGraw, and she was good too. So don't have a lot to say about that. And I'd never seen Bullet, so I watched Bullet.
Yeah, Bullet you watched too? Yeah, I only saw parts of that. People told me that the car chase was so great in it, so I watched it. It was good, but I always say that my favorite car chase is a film called The Seven Ups.
But Bullet I might even like Bullet more than I liked The Getaway though. Bullet is, and it's got. I get on here and I can't remember anybody's names. Jacqueline Bisset plays his girlfriend.
Oh yeah, I like her.
It's worth it just for that. But yeah, he's great in this too. He just gets out of prison, so he's got kind of this funny haircut. I don't know if you can see it, but I like that he would do that. That they would let him cut his hair ridiculously, and he would.
It doesn't look that different from what I'm thinking. It usually looks like.
Well, it goes down about halfway, really short, and then it just ends, and it's kind of shaved sort of towards the bottom, and it's just a funny haircut, especially in the early '70s. It's a funny haircut. But
yeah,
anyway,
I love that film.
And I'd never seen this because this is a film that takes its time, and it's 3 hours long, which is why I'd never seen it. And then I watched the commentary too, so I watched this twice. The Sand Pebbles. Great film.
I haven't seen that either.
Great film about it's a war film, Joe. So I don't know if you would.
Some of them are okay. I just don't. It depends who's in it.
My one criticism with this film is actually with Steve McQueen himself. Because he's supposed to be from Utah, and he plays this guy that acts like he's not too bright. But half the time he talks like he's from Boston. He has his accent's almost like he's from, and then half the time he doesn't. And that's what really bothers me is he half the time he has the accent, and half the time he doesn't. And I'm like, well, which is it? But other than that, great film, great story.
Great score by Jerry Goldsmith as well.
Good way to spend 3 hours.
Big Jerry Goldsmith fan there.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Great way to spend 3 hours. I'm glad I finally saw it. Highly recommended. I watched I Love You, Alice B. Toklas with Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers.
I Love You, Alice B. Toklas. This he plays like this lawyer, and he's doing fine. He's got a nice house. He's about to get married, and all of this stuff's going on. And his brother's a hippie, and he meets his brother's girlfriend, who is one of the most gorgeous women I've ever seen. And he winds up becoming a hippie. After he lets the girl stay at his place one night, and as a favor, because she let him do that, she makes him some Alice B. Toklas, who was a real person who wrote a cookbook, and that's where marijuana brownies come from. And she makes him some marijuana brownies, and then he becomes a hippie, and comedy, obviously.
I should hope so with him as a hippie.
Decent film. I mean, absurd film, but I enjoyed it. Couple more, and I'm done. The Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yeah, I've never seen that.
Time ago, but I haven't seen it since. And
that's been in my horror books for years.
It's not a horror film. I don't know.
No, but they put it in the books, though. I've seen it.
It's not a horror film, but the Beast is much nicer than a lot of the other people in the movie, which is the whole point of it. But it's this version of the Beauty of the Beast. It's like a fairy tale, basically. It is a fairy tale, and that's what's kind of so cool about it. It's not really taken as a real kind of thing. I don't collect any Criterion. I'll buy it if I see it, but these days I don't spend money on films. So if I see Criterions at my thrift store, obviously I'll buy them, no matter what it is. But no, I don't. I have probably, including Blu-ray, DVD, and Laserdisc, maybe I have 50 Criterions, maybe.
That's a lot.
And the last. Yeah, well, I have a few thousand films probably, so it's not really. The last film I want to talk about, I'd never heard of. I saw 2 trailers for it watching Modern Films, in the beginning of the film, and then it turned out I had it. I found it at probably a dollar store or something, and I'd never heard of it, and I loved it. And this is where Tom is going to hate me, because Al Pacino is so much better than Robert De Niro.
I wish he was here.
The film is Danny Collins. Anybody ever seen this? Heard about it?
No, I like Pacino, and there's still a bunch of Pacino movies I need to see.
This film was so good. I enjoyed this film so much. Al Pacino plays this aging rock star, but the movie starts out at the beginning of his career, and he's getting interviewed by this like Cream magazine kind of guy, and it's based on a very, very loosely based on a true story. And this guy this guy says, your lyrics sound like John Lennon. You write.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
And so John Lennon winds up writing him a letter. He reads this article and winds up writing him this letter about, because he also says in the same interview that he's worried that if he gets famous, that fame might corrupt his art. And Lennon tells him not to worry about that. Fame will not corrupt your art, and just stay true to yourself and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the guy from the magazine keeps the letter. He doesn't send it on to Danny Collins. So Danny Collins is now in his 60s, and as a birthday present, his manager finds this letter at an auction or something and buys it and gives it to him. And it's an interesting, and most of the film music in the film is John Lennon music. And it's an interesting film, done very well. Annette Bening is in it. She's great. Christopher Plummer's in it. He's great. Everybody in this film is really, really good. And it's just a nice it's just a good film. I really, really enjoyed it.
I bet half the budget went on the soundtrack. Get the copyright permission.
Probably. There is no Beatles though, and Lennon music doesn't go for what Beatles music goes for. But,
but since when you started to mention, and I saw on the cover about John Lennon, I did remember there was something that Pacino had done to do with John Lennon, and I didn't know what it was. Now I know, and I might see it. You and I don't agree on a lot of movies, though. No. I don't think so. I
love it. This is my favorite of everything I watched in the last 2 weeks. This is definitely my favorite.
Well, since I'm keen on Al Pacino, I might say, all right, well, that might be something I'll try out.
And he's great. He's so charismatic in this. You believe him. You believe that he is this guy. And he can't sing. He does all his own singing, and he can't sing, which I admire him. I admire him for doing that.
That's incredible. There's a little thing about Johnny got his gun, etc., etc. And let's say a hello to Ramoga. Ramoga is the one who loves that Godzilla clip. And I'm sorry to tell you that near the top of the show, I showed that clip already, so I'm done with it. I won't show it again. And I did watch that movie. So if you go back, I did watch the actual movie that has that clip in it. It was my Saturday night Godzilla marathon choice. So there you go.
Joe and I were on a Rachel's Ghost episode a few weeks ago, and we got talking about the scripts for the old Universal horror films, like this one. And one thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about them is there's a classic scene. There's a classic line that I think is a classic line in this film by Lon Chaney, and he's driving the coach and horses that's pulling a caravan, and he's on the way, as usual, for Lawrence Talbot to find a cure for his lycanthropy, looking for the Frankenstein Diaries. And he's driving the coach, and he's new to the job, and it's usually taking place by J. Carroll Nash, this hunchback fellow who normally drives the coach, and he has a rapport going with the gypsy girl. And
I love that scene. I think I know. Go ahead.
Right, and she doesn't know that suddenly Lawrence Talbot is on board and he's driving the coach. So she pops out from behind him, and then realizes that it's a new guy, and she starts to flirt with him.
Yeah,
and the fantastic line, Joe, that I've remembered all these years is because he all he wants is to die. That's the only motive on his agenda. So he's not interested in sex. He's not interested in living the high life. He just wants to die.
He doesn't even want to have sex with her anymore.
Right, exactly. So she's trying everything to flirt with him, and she says, "What's your name?" And he says, "Lawrence."
I know what the answer is.
Right. and she says, "Do they call you Larry?" And this is my favorite line in all the Universal horror movies. He's got a 1,000-yard stare straight ahead, like an icy stare, and he says, "They used to." Yeah. What a fantastic line. Now,
it's funny. It's so simple, but yet it does, because he remembers, like, he used to be a normal, happy guy. They used to call him Larry.
Now this is the shooting script. One of the good things about these books is they tend to show in facsimile the shooting script rather than type it out anew. So you get a real feeling that you're encountering the archival script.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you go to that scene, Ilonka is the gypsy girl's name. You get things like you get the whole scene, and Ilonka says, "I promised Daniel I'd keep him company while he drove, but I'll talk to you if you want to." And Lawrence Talbot says, "I don't want to talk." And Ilonka says, "Not even a little bit? Leave me alone, will you?" That fitful anger that he always has.
That's not in the movie.
Right. And at the end, and then right after that, she says, "All right, Larry." And that's the end of the scene. There is no line about "they used to." So what that makes me think is, where did that line come from? And it's all speculation, but part of my speculation is that Lon Chaney cared more about that character than any other character he played in the Universal monster films.
Right.
And I'm thinking, and he certainly had the clout by 1944-45 to put a line in if he wanted to. I'm thinking, did he improvise that line?
That's very interesting. Even though I have those script books, I didn't read it verbatim, and that's very interesting, because I've seen movies where he does that. In fact, there's a movie called The Frozen Ghost where he turns on somebody. Anyway, he's a hypnotist or something, and some guy that he hypnotizes dies, and the press are all over him, and the press says, "Hey, he's trying to get an interview. What did you do with that guy?" or something like that. And he goes, grabs him, goes, "Leave me alone, will you?" And he throws him like that. It's like, that's typical Lon Chaney when he gets like that. But I love that because I always like that part where he's completely transformed and changed into this lost soul.
Yeah. And he delivers it so well, Joe, because he gives a pause before he says it. It's so fatalistic when he says, "They used to." It's like end of conversation with that line.
And then she just kind of like, "All right, that's it." She sits there. Like,
yeah, that's the end of that.
She's like, starts like going like that. So I notice it.
So what I did, Joe, with all of these, I make these. You can't hardly see. It's just handwritten notes. Every time I read one of these Universal horror scripts, I make notes about any discrepancy between the shooting script and the film that I say. So obviously, when I got to this one, I was on the lookout for that line especially. and it's nowhere to be seen in the shooting script.
Well, okay, at some point I want to do, among other things, I'd like to do a Frankenstein video with you, just a discussion thing that we record.
Yeah.
And that has to be, you have to bring that up again though. For,
Right. Okay.
So,
yeah.
Because that's really interesting. Any Beatle films or biopics were released where you had your head in your hands? What do you mean? Like, couldn't believe it? Like this? Oh my God, like that?
Most of them. I would go as far as to say all of them, maybe.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of. I mean, I don't know. I was like that with Nowhere Boy a bit with the Paul McCartney scenes when he, John Lennon punches Paul out in it. Like, oh, come on, like that. Birth of the Beatles, there were a couple of things I was like, overall, Birth of the Beatles doesn't seem as bad to me today as it used to.
What was that one in the late 80s? Like, the lives
of, that's the 90s.
Of John Lennon.
What is it?
It's like the loves or lives of John Lennon or something.
I don't know that.
TV thing, and I'll never forget. The camera pans down, and it's clearly the Sgt. Pepper sessions because they're all wearing these way psychedelic clothing, and Paul's sitting. The guy playing Paul is sitting at a piano, going ding 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 ding. We're Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I'm just like, oh my God.
Oh, there's a lot of those. There's Beatles scenes. Beatles scenes in other movies that they're not Beatles movies per se, like John and Yoko, A Love Story. Like there's some Beatles scenes in that. But what that might
be the one I'm thinking of.
It could be that because there's some Beatles scenes in that. But what I hate about movies, and I've seen a lot of movies do this, and this is a good point to let this out of my system. The audience doesn't always know who's supposed to be who. So you see in 1974, like John Lennon in the movie John and Yoko, A Love Story, is recording with Elton John. So you see a scene where like Elton, he's wearing these huge glasses, these big gigantic glasses, and he's like singing, "Whatever gets you through," and have these huge glasses. Like you're supposed to know it's Elton John by those huge glasses. And then he goes something like, "I think it's going to be number one, John," and he goes, "Really clear, thanks, Elton." Like really clear. It's like, come on. And then Ringo comes to visit the studio, and he walks in and he starts singing Yellow Submarine. He comes in, we all live in the Yellow Submarine. So Ringo goes, so John's like, Richie, it's like stop. One other, I don't know what it was. There was another one, something to do with Hollywood. It was a movie about Hollywood, and I don't know if whoever it was about. Maybe it was about Betty Davis, or it was about Joan Crawford. I don't know who it was. And then all of a sudden, a man walks in the room and says some line again, some typical line from a movie or something. And the woman goes, "Harry Grant." It's like, I hate that. I get goosebumps. It's like, it's so obvious and so stupid. And I know you have to do that because the people don't know who it is.
Well, one of the problems now is that they're catering to new generations who perhaps don't know that much about the Beatles, so they're having to underline everything.
I don't know.
Yeah, I heard about this one. Yeah, I still say Ian Hart is my favorite Lennon actor, but I'm only really going by backbeat. I just think he really feels like a young, raunchy John to me in that. I believe he's John in that.
Wow, the worst John ever was, I don't even remember the name of the movie. The fairly recent Brian Epstein film.
Oh, I didn't see that yet. I don't want to see it.
About 4'8" in this
movie. Yeah.
4'8". He's literally a foot smaller than the rest, than everybody else in the movie, and it's like, this is supposed to be John Lennon, the leader of the Beatles, and it's like, you might as well be a monkey,
I've only seen photographs of it, but I know. Ringo towers over John in that movie. It's ridiculous.
Everybody does.
So stupid.
Oh,
Yeah. So.
We were talking last time I was on anyway, because Tim brought up the subject of Peter Bogdanovich, and Joe was saying that he actually met the guy. So then we started doing a round robin about Peter Bogdanovich, and I was saying that any Blu-ray or any DVD you can get, where even if Bogdanovich didn't direct, if he does a commentary, it's worth getting just for the commentary. So I dug out a few examples, and to lead into those examples, I'll show you something that's got nothing to do with Peter Bogdanovich, which is this film. I'm not recommending the film. It's a British spy film by the same guy who directed Devil Doll, which is Lindsay Shonteff.
Yes.
Okay, number one of the Secret Service. This is about 1977. It's okay for somebody like me who's interested in Lindsay Shonteff, but I'm not recommending it. But the reason I'm mentioning it is because there's an audio commentary on this film, and it immediately reminded me of Joe and Danny. Immediately, all the way through, and each one of them are subverting the other person's comment. But they're disagreeing in really interesting ways. So the actual commentary is better than the film. So I don't know who the guys were. I've never heard of them before. The two guys who do the commentary, but it's definitely a shtick that they must have had before this commentary, because they flow so easily into it, and it's so unusual. That commentary is so unusual, where they're disagreeing on everything for the entire film, but then you get 2 points of view, you see, so it's worth it for that. So I'm just recommending that if anybody's very interested in Lindsay Shonteff, that they're going to get this anyway. And it is American. I had to send off to Kino Lorber for this in the USA, but as soon as you hear the commentary, you'll think Joe and Danny straight away.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. By the way, you mentioned Lindsay Shonteff, and the only thing I really know is Devil Doll, and also I think he also directed. Well, there's a movie called Curse of the Voodoo, but it's also known as Curse of Simba. Right?
Yeah, yes, and there's a new edition of that about to come out in the UK, so I don't know whether it'll.
I just got a fairly new edition of it, and the thing I think it is the new one, and. But one thing I noticed about those movies, I was wondering if the movie that you talked about there briefly, I wonder if it's the same. It seems like he directs with a lot of tight shots, a lot of tight close-ups in Devil Doll anyway, and maybe to a lesser extent the other one. I was wondering if that film, if that leapt out at you, if you noticed that, or you didn't notice anything.
No, it was the opposite on this, because it's like he didn't have access to a studio, so the whole thing was shot in the West End of London. Everything was on location, so you tend to get wider shots then, and shots on the move as well, as if he didn't have a license to shoot, a bit like Ed Wood. So he would catch the shot before the cops came, and then they'd move the film unit onto some other location. It's a little bit like that, and all his films were low budget, but maybe his most famous film is Sumaru with Shirley Eaton, which is 1967, where she plays a villainess. So that's kind of a cult film.
I did want to mention something going back. This is going back a little ways when you were discussing House of Frankenstein, and I forgot to say, I got to meet Elena Verdugo at a show, and I'm very happy because as a Universal Monsters fan, and they're also. They're all gone. To be able to get an autograph. I got a bunch of autographs of her, a photo with her, but to be able to meet these people and all these old Universal monster films, which from our childhood, which are kind of like fairy tales. They're like they're from another world. Yeah. To actually touch somebody or speak to somebody real from there was quite an honor. So Absolutely. It was Elena Verdugo, and at the same, I think it was the same show. Also got to meet Jane Addams, who was in House of Dracula as the nurse. Right. So I got to meet Elena Verdugo from House of Frankenstein, which that's a Frankenstein, technically a Frankenstein, a Wolfman actress. and also Jane Addams played in House of Dracula. There's a Dracula actress, you know. I mean, and finally, Peggy Moran, who was in The Mummy's Hand, I got to meet her in the last years at a show. And she was tragically killed in a car accident after that. Not to bring the party down, but and I remember trying to tell these old women, you have no idea. You would think, it was just a job. I was just a kid.
Yeah.
What this did for me, I mean, because House of Frankenstein and The Mummy's Hand with Peggy Moran, those two, how I got into horror. Why I'm wearing a Lugosi Dracula. Lugosi's not in those movies, but I mean, that's how I got into it. Karloff and everything.
I mean, hopefully the ones who survived long enough to go to the conventions will understand what they meant to the next generation on down in terms of formative memories.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who's left. I don't really know. I think everybody's gone now. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Wasn't too impressed by Man on the Run. I liked it. It's not the greatest thing ever, but I liked it.
Okay, so there's a Blu-ray of what I think is maybe my favorite Peter Bogdanovich movie, Saint Jack, with Ben Gazzara. I think it was filmed entirely in Singapore, but this is an example where I've got the Blu-ray. It's only 1080p, but I've got the Blu-ray, and there's no extras. So if you want the Peter Bogdanovich commentary, which is essential, I think, you have to get the DVD as well, unless you can find a Blu-ray with one on. But
that happens.
One of the things you tend to get in any Peter Bogdanovich commentary is he's so proud of doing long takes, doing everything all in one take without any cutaway. So you'll hear him say particularly on Saint Jack, notice that this is one take, all one take. We did the whole thing in one take. And you'll emphasize that over and over again, right to the end shot of Ben Gazzara walking away and the camera pulling up from an overhead shot from the bridge. And we see Ben Gazzara walking away for about 3 minutes until he's a blob in the background while the end title scroll. And all that time, Peter Bogdanovich is talking about how they set it up and they wanted to do it in one take. So you get that a lot from him. But it's because he's so invested in filmmaking, so he's passionate about it, which is one of the reasons why he's good. And an example of a film he had nothing to do with, but he does a great commentary on it because he knew John Ford, so he's got lots of anecdotes to tell about the movie. So that's an example of a film that's worth getting. Well, it's a great film and a great John Wayne performance anyway, but to get an edition with Peter Bogdanovich's commentary on, I think is essential.
A great film. All I could say is that'll be the day. He says that in the movie. The thing is, the searchers, unfortunately, whenever they say, what's some great movies that you don't think is so great? That was one for me. I saw it one time, and I don't know what I did took notes on it. I've never put it down on a video yet because I have a series here where I was keeping notes on movies I watched from like the year, I don't know, 2004 to like 2018 or something. And I have them, and sometimes I'll read from them briefly because I have to look at my notes and do a little video while I'm kind of reading and looking at the camera at the same time, kind of. And anyway, I just remember, I can't remember actually the details now of what it was that bothered me about it, but one day I'll talk about it.
I wonder how you felt about John Wayne playing an anti-hero, because he's not really likable for most of that film.
No, I mean I don't remember that having anything to do with it. I thought it was. I can't remember every reason. It wasn't that.
Right.
It's one of the first psychological westerns. It's my favorite western. I got to see it on this huge. I don't even know how big it is. This huge curved screen at the Uptown Theater in Washington, D.C. and it wasn't even restored yet. But it just, I just fell in love with it. I was like, oh my goodness! And
well, this is another example of one of the films that was filmed in VistaVision, which is the best possible process for if you're transferring anything onto Blu-ray. VistaVision is one to look out for, because the sharpness of the picture and how vivid the colors are second to none with the process of VistaVision.
Yeah, no, I love that film. Me and Joe disagree on that one big time.
Oh no, but as I say, I'm a kind of guy that's willing to say, I don't like to say wrong, that you're right or wrong, but when it's something that's really, really considered great almost universally, whether it's a movie or an album, a record album, and you're in the minority, I always feel like I owe an explanation more than the people that are in the masses that love it. You know.
Well, those explanations can be interesting, because I don't mind. I tend not to get evangelical about the films I like. If somebody's not so keen on them, I'm okay to let them not be keen on them. And it can be interesting to find out why they don't like them. Not because you want to persuade them otherwise, but because, you know, maybe you can see some flaws in a film that can make it even more interesting. It doesn't have to be perfect. So if somebody makes a critical observation about a film that I like, you know, in a weird kind of way, that can enhance my observation of the film more. So I'm quite interested in criticism of films that I like.
I wish I could remember. I don't want to say anything out of turn. I think I remember the end was. This is a long time. This is a long time ago. The early 2000s. I probably watched it. Maybe I thought the end was a little too wrapped up quick, like the girl changed her mind too fast or something. I think I remember something about that.
That's a really good point.
He changes his mind, but you don't know that for sure.
Well, he changes his mind.
All you know, he was always going to do what he did. We don't know. We just assume that he was going to do something not very nice. And
but
but we don't know that for sure. He never says it.
But everything in that film up to that end point has led us to believe that John Wayne is
to believe that he's going to do what we think he's going to do.
So it does feel out of character to me. So I'd say that would be a valid criticism. I mean, I'm glad I'm glad that he did what he did in the end, but it does that seem out of character.
I just.
It's been too long. It's been too long for me to really comment on it. I have notes somewhere. I'd rather read the notes to refamiliarize myself with it. Now that I like, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. That I like.
I've got the Blu-ray somewhere, but I can't find it. So I can't tell you whether Bogdanovich's commentary transferred onto Blu-ray, but it's on the DVD, and it's another really good commentary from Bogdanovich on this film.
I have the Blu-ray of that. I picked up a Blu-ray. I don't recall.
And you know that Bogdanovich was a good friend of Orson Welles as well.
Oh,
so you can find quite a few Orson Welles Blu-rays with Bogdanovich doing a commentary, full of anecdotes about the time he interviewed Orson Welles, and he knew him well, and until they kind of had a slight falling out at the end. But he's really good at talking about why Welles is so brilliant. So if you get a particular Citizen Kane edition like this one, then you'll find Bogdanovich doing an audio commentary on there as well.
Oh, really? I remember a Roger Ebert comedy. I think commentary on one of those. I thought
I have a few William Wyler films who he also knew, and I love his William Wyler because he goes into great impersonations of William Wyler, and they're fantastic.
This one's got nothing to do with any of that.
Oh, I saw that in the movies. I don't remember loving that at all.
Right. This isn't Bogdanovich. He's not on the audio commentary. The reason I'm holding it up is that Roman Polanski did his one and only audio commentary for this film, and he sat in his Paris studio, and he lights a cigar. You can't see him, but you can hear him light a cigar, and there's nobody else with him, so he just talks, which must be so hard to do if there's nobody else to bounce off, and you're just talking into a microphone. for the duration of a 2-hour film, but he's so interesting about talking about the film process and about working with Johnny Depp in particular, because he always said that was Johnny Depp's first adult role. So Polanski felt that Johnny Depp, because he was such a pretty guy, he'd always been sort of confined in these sort of teenage type roles before then, and that the Ninth Gate was his first. Now I'm not sure that it's his first, his first adult role, because I mean, Dead Man came before that film with Jim Jarmusch, but it's still interesting. It's still interesting to hear him. He's willing to make some. He's not one of these directors where if he's talking about one of his films that's just come out, he'll pat everybody on the back and himself and hype it up. So if he sees something critical that he wishes he could reshoot, he'll say so. So I like that sort of critical commentary. So that's why I hold that up. Good commentary.
Interesting. I just remember you saw it in the theater, and I don't remember a thing about it. Maybe I was disappointed because I don't know. I always think of Rosemary's Baby, with Roman Polanski. I mean, that's one of my all-time favorite movies. I think it's hard for a movie to ever be perfect, but I think Rosemary's Baby comes very close to a perfect film for me. Anyway, there's always something you can pick on.
I don't know whether this will mean much to Americans. The film is Theatre of Blood I know you'll know the film.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm holding it up is because the audio commentary was by a comedy team from a sitcom that were collectively called the League of Gentlemen, with people like David Gattis, I think was one of the people who went on to be a director himself. Mark Gattis, sorry. And there are about 4 or 5 of them. And so they're funny in their commentary all the way through, but they're not just funny. They're more or less our generation, and so they grew up with this film, and they hold cherished memories from the first time they saw it. So they're also full of enthusiasm, which translates into lots of little observational details about the film, which you may not notice when you're watching it, but they notice it. So it's a very lively, as well as a very funny commentary.
Ooh.
Cool. I have a question for you, 4D Man. Have you ever watched any commentaries that were either A, just awful, or B, the person literally hated the film? Because I watched one not that long ago. I can't remember what film it was, and I'm just like, why does this exist? Why are they paying somebody to talk endlessly about how much they don't like this film?
I've seen a bunch like that myself.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, the kind of commentaries I do not like, and I've got to be careful here because Joe's a friend of Tom Weaver's, I believe. Am I right, Joe? Okay, well, so I'll try to be careful.
Not a good friend. We were acquaintances, All
right. All right. Well, Tom Weaver definitely knows his stuff. Like, very, very knowledgeable guy. The problem I have with certain commentaries is if they info dump. Like, they've got so much information. They've only got like 90 minutes to tell you, and they want to tell you everything. And it's just a bombardment of information with no pacing. Those are the kind of commentaries that I don't sit well with me.
I would say some of Tom Weaver's commentaries. Yeah, even I would say that actually. And then some of them I really do love because he, like the Wolfman. I love that. I like that comic. I don't know if that's one of the one that you don't care for, but there's other ones too that I'm not as wild about. He throws. I like when he throws a lot of, I don't know what you call them, digs in there, or sometimes he'll dig at somebody or remark, sarcastic remark or something.
It can be ironic. I think I prefer him in interviews, and he's certainly an essential contributor to those scripts, those Universal horror scripts.
And I love Gregory Mank. I like in a lot of those. He does a lot of good ones. Well, that kind of brings us just for a moment. I wanted to quote this about there's a new adaptation of Dracula out there. Hey, and Mayo will probably not be a fan. I'm almost positive I wouldn't want to see it, except that I do like Christoph Waltz. And Christoph Waltz is in there playing Vampire Hunter, I think. So that intrigues me. But again, everything I've heard about this, again, it's Dracula the lover, Dracula the love story. No, Dracula is a monster. He's a villain. Now, I don't mind. They've tried it so many times, Frank Langella, uh, lovey-dovey Dracula. Of course, I think the overrated film by Coppola, Bram Stoker's Dracula. There are things I like about it, but I don't like some of the things about Dracula being this lover and all that. And the first time that I ever saw it done was the TV version, the Dan Curtis. I had it here. I don't know if I still have it. Jack Palance, who was Dracula on a TV version, and that had the love angle in there. But I thought it worked in that film because they made it like every now and then there were flashbacks to Dracula's human life, and he was involved in a romance and everything. But now he's transformed into this thing. So I thought it worked in retrospect and flashback that he was this, Romeo or whatever you want to call it. And I have nothing against Christopher Lee. I like when Christopher Lee does his act where he's seducing the women, and he's very much giving the women the Hammer films, the look, and he's very charming and suave. I have no problem with that, but I still think in the Lee Dracula, you can still tell he's a beast. He's a villain. He's not a lover, even though he has that suave way to lure the women. He's still, There we go. There it is.
Well, talking about Dracula, I'm holding this up because the audio commentary for this edition is by Jonathan Rigby, who's an actor and quite an aficionado of horror films, and Marcus Hearn, who's one of the managing directors now of the modern Hammer film company. But whenever they get together and they've done a few commentaries, it really just feels like you're in a pub with them. Their conversation has got such a good rapport. So they've got the knowledge, but they've got a really good, witty conversation going on as well. And you can hear the enthusiasm that they have for the film and their delight at seeing a restored copy with all the censored bits put back in. So any of the Hammer films that you can get, such as the same duo are doing a commentary on the 1959 Mummy as well, and you get into a situation where you can have two different Blu-ray versions of one film, like The Curse of Frankenstein, and one of them has the Marcus Hearn, Jonathan Rigby commentary on, which I didn't realize when I bought this one first, which doesn't have it on, and has a commentary by a screenwriter, not the screenwriter of this film, and by a historian, which is a bit dry and not particularly good. So I bought this first, then I realized that this thing was out there, so I had to buy this purely for the commentary, because the commentaries are so good. I mean, like you can hear them more than once and still get stuff out that you missed the first time around, and the rapport is really good. So that's worth recommending. Marcus Hearn and Jonathan Rigby.
Did you ever happen to hear the Dracula Prince of Darkness commentary with the actors on there?
Yeah, with Barbara Shelley, Christopher Lee, Francis Matthews, and what's the other lady, the leading lady in it?
Oh, I forget her name. I know the younger woman. What's her name? Yeah.
There's a great dynamic in there, because Barbara Shelley obviously worships Christopher Lee. Francis Matthews puts up with Christopher Lee.
Yeah. That's why I'm mentioning it. You talk about a commentator, Christopher Lee. I got to meet him twice. I got to say too. That's another good thing. He's the only one of the great horror stars I got to meet.
Right. What was he like, Joe, with you?
There's not really much to say, because one time was, of all places, it was in a record store. It was a Virgin record store in Manhattan.
Wow.
And he had the book out. I think it's called Tall, Dark, and Gruesome.
Yeah.
He had biography out, and there was a big enough line for him, and I can't remember anything really saying anything to him there. I've got a photograph of it, of getting a picture with him on my banner of my movie channel. But then a very short while after that, maybe a week or two after that, he appeared at a horror fan convention. And I just remember, and there was something going on. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. There was something going on at the first time at the record store where they weren't going to let, they didn't want him to sign horror posters or something. But yet some people had horror posters and he was signing them anyway. But I don't think and it got a little like crazy there. It was a little hectic. Right. So the second time now, a week or two later, whenever it was, that I saw him at a horror convention, I said, "Oh, it was good to see you again. I saw you at the Virgin Record Store." And he looks at me and goes, "Oh, a bit chaotic, wasn't it?" And I remember, like, that's Christopher Lee. I mean,
yeah, he's quite art, isn't he?
Whatever. That's all I remember. He was trying. I didn't get. You think I would have? You meet somebody that you always admired. You think you'd know what to say. But, I said, no, well, I didn't know what to say. I just said, yeah, it wasn't chaotic for me. It was just a pleasure to be able to meet you. Thank you. He was gentlemanly like you would expect, But I love how in that, the commentary track, I was going to say, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, he's taking over the commentary and he's not allowing the cast to have their moment. They have moments on screen.
Yeah.
And I remember there was one time, I don't know if you caught it, early in the movie, which is, Christopher Lee doesn't appear in that movie for a while until he's resurrected,
right,
as Dracula from the ashes. But in the early parts of the movie, the other cast is trying to talk about what they're doing. And I remember at one point, Christopher Lee says something, and I'm paraphrasing here. He says, "Well, I'm going to speak now while what list was going on, because the only thing that's happening here is setting up what's happening later." So he starts taking their time to talk about, I think maybe he was talking about the first film, maybe Dracula, if I remember. He uses their time and he says, nothing's happening here, so I'm going to talk about this now. It's their scenes.
And there's one bit where Francis Matthews, he doesn't lose his temper, but you can see he's just about fed up with Christopher Lee, and he's having to give way again to Christopher Lee, and you can hear it in his voice, that certain exasperation.
I think he's more humble in the commentary for Scars of Dracula.
Right,
he actually does that one, and he's a little more, he's even complimentary to it. Who's the director on that? Wow.
Is it Roy Ward Baker?
Yeah. Okay. Roy Ward Baker, and he's on there too, and he's actually giving him some credit. And I remember him saying, Christopher Lee says that's considered a terrible movie, Hammer movie. I like it a lot, but I think it stands on its own, just as its own thing. But he says, "Oh, this is better than I remember it being," or something. He was like, "This is not so," words to that effect. And he makes note of the scene in there. They have one scene at least where Dracula is crawling on the wall like a lizard.
Yes.
And he says he liked that part because it's from the novel.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But I find the Dracula Prince of Darkness commentary really I found it moving when they were still alive, but because it was a reunion of sorts for those four people. But now that they're all gone, I find it even more moving. And I did correspond with Barbara Shelley when she'd gone back to university to do a degree in interior design, and I was sharing with a PhD I was doing, and I'd obviously caught her at a moment where she was totally exasperated with her tutors, and she took one of my comments and said, "This is an example of university people misleading the students." So she'd obviously had it up to here with university while she was doing her degree. This is not, and she was saying, "This part is true, this is not true," and she was very emphatic about it. But I was glad to get that feedback from her.
Yeah, I'm thinking there were a lot. I was privileged to meet a good amount of stars from Hammer Universe. Now that I think of it, there was also Hazel Court. You mentioned, Curse of Frankenstein. I got to say hello to her. Of course, Martina Beswick. Who's the? Well, I know all their names, but Veronica Carlson was really sweet. There were a lot of those women that you got. Ingrid Pitt,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Caroline Monroe,
yeah.
and
those two particularly, they were always quite considerate with fans. Fans of
very much.
Yeah,
Very much. And
Suzanne Farmer is the actress.
Suzanne Farmer is the girl, from the movie.
Yeah.
I wonder what it was in me that fell for Universal Monsters as a kid. Yeah, same thing with me. Yeah, big B-grade monsters, robots trying to stay awake, blah, blah, blah. Never left me. Yeah. And also back to Universal, I forgot, also Julie Adams from Creature from the Black Lagoon got to meet.
Cool.
Also got to meet Ben Chapman, who was in the suit for the creature. Ben Chapman was the land creature, the one that was on the land.
Right.
And he wasn't in the water. He was on the land scenes. And also from the second film, Revenge of the Creature, Laurie Nelson, who was in a lot of other movies. She was in other movies too. But a lot of people, I'm trying to think, Beverly Garland. There were a lot of people from the 50s movies, and so I got to meet a lot of them, and I'm fortunate to have photos and autographs. So I did not mention Band on the Run. No, I did not mention. That was the farthest thing from my mind when I met Christopher Lee. Let's see. It's interesting though. Even the Lugosi Dracula, which I'm wearing, the shirt here. Lugosi Dracula, I think they built it as a love story, build it as that, or something in the end. But obviously, I have nothing wrong with a certain amount of lust and romanticism being felt in there on the sides, but basically Dracula has ulterior, I like him to have ulterior evil motives. He's not to be pitied.
I think Christopher Lee, and this is part of his ego, is he's very conscious of his own aristocratic lineage, and so he invests that in his portrayal of Count Dracula as well, which fits the character. But it is a bit, when it comes out in interviews, it comes across as egotistical, unfortunately.
Yeah, he does come across like that. Yeah.
This is worth mentioning. I love the film anyway, but it's an acquired taste. It's Michael O. Antonioni's The Passenger from 1975. But the reason I'm holding it up is because the commentary. It's a wonderful commentary by Jack Nicholson. I've never heard him so languid and so casual. Yeah, he's just so. I don't know what he was on when he was making the commentary, but he's very wry. He's very slow. He's slow speaking anyway, but he's even slower speaking in this commentary. And there's nobody else with him on the microphone. It's just him, and he's so entertaining talking about his memories of making this film, and so quintessentially Jack Nicholson on the microphone that it's worth getting that film for the commentary, which I've heard probably 3 or 4 times since I bought this. I love it.
A lot of people know it's like Burgess Meredith doing horrible commentaries for Twilight Zone episodes. Don't remember much. It's just another job. That's exactly. I'm telling you, I've heard some of those, and the worst. I've mentioned this before. Was Mickey Rooney? Mickey Rooney was doing commentaries on one of them, and he was downright mean. It was horrible.
Wow.
I don't know what he wouldn't answer any questions. So, what do you remember about it? Nothing. It was literally like that. Oh, so I guess maybe when you did the scene, is there any antidotes? Nothing. Just I don't remember anything. And that's what he's doing the whole thing. And it's like, wow.
Why did they put him on? That's what
exactly right.
That's my question. I watched this film. I don't remember what either of them called. It was 2 Mondo films that something weird put out. And there was this guy who just passed. I forget his name. Johnny Guitar or something like that. He was this LA guy that everybody knew, and his sidekick, his buddy, were doing these commentaries for these 2 Mondo films, and neither one of them had ever seen the film. So they're watching the film silently, just going, what's going on here? I wonder, is he doing... That's the whole commentary. That's both films, 2 films. It's like, why?
Yeah, no, When you said that earlier, when you said I don't understand people, like they don't want to be there. They got nothing good to say about it.
Well,
What's the point?
why use it? I can understand taping a commentary. It's bad, so you don't
Not
use
worth
it.
using.
Why use it?
Hi, Robbie. Yeah, and one of the worst commentary. Another thing I hate personally in commentaries, a way some people do them was like William Friedkin. I saw one of the Exorcist commentaries. I think he did more than one, and I know he got better later. But the one I saw, I don't like when directors just tell you what you're seeing on screen.
Yeah,
now we pan over to the bed. Now we see her get up, and she turns the light on. Please. I want background. I want history. I want to know how interesting anecdotes.
Blind, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I love anecdotes and stories.
This is wildly different than what we've been talking about. But the film is 24-hour Party People, so it's about the Manchester music scene from the 1970s onwards. So you get Joy Division and New Order, Happy Mondays, and it focuses on Tony Wilson, who was a television local presenter, but he was also a music aficionado, and he was an entrepreneur, and he's one of the co-founders of the Factory Club and Factory Records. So he's played in this film by a comic actor called Steve Coogan, but on the commentary, Tony Wilson does the commentary. And he debunks certain things that are featured in the film that didn't happen that way. So he gives you he clues you in on what really did happen, and he's quite wry, he's quite ironic about the film's poetic license. So it's a really good. It's now a historical commentary because he's dead now, and it's just a fantastic commentary that you can hear more than once and get something new out of it from Tony Wilson. And given that the actual film is really about him, it's quite ironic to have him doing the commentary, commenting on somebody who's playing him. Are you a fan of Leo McKern? Yes, I am. I've got his autograph on a photograph somewhere in this house. I love the first thing that comes to mind is I love his portrayal of Number 2 in The Prisoner, the television series. I love his portrayal as a journalist in The Day the Earth Caught Fire in 61, something like that. So yeah, I like Leo McKern's acting a lot.
He was in one of the Omen movies, wasn't he too? Maybe the beginning of it. I think Omen 2, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
The beginning of it, maybe. Alan Partridge.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid. I hate to say this at this point. I don't have much longer to go here because what I'll have to do if I can is start earlier, maybe to give us more time, because I got to leave by another 10 minutes or so or less. So, worked with Leo McKern's niece.
Oh, cool.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, he's in the first Omen, Leo McKern.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's what's his name, Roy Kinnear. I'm moving my left leg. I'm moving my right leg. That's from Help. Yeah, Roy Kinnear. Yeah, just found out, by the way, I got tickets again to see Ben-Hur on the big screen again. I just saw it in 2024. I think it's like this is coming around every year or two now. I love that movie, and my girlfriend and I both love it. So we don't mind seeing it. She's always game for seeing it again because she loves the movie. And it's still one of my very favorite movies.
Yeah, I've got the 8 lobby cards framed in the other room from Ben-Hur.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I wish I had this. The money and there's and space. There's
well, you will have when you move into a house, Joe. You'll have.
I hope so. I hope so. And if I'm not too old, I'm hoping that's the case. A lot of times on Facebook, I see there's some kind of poster place that their videos are popping up that they restore posters and whatever they do to them. Are you into that at all? Like, we talk about linen back or whatever they do.
No, I'm happy to just frame them without any backing. I made the stupid mistake on the Chinatown poster of getting it heat sealed, which is the worst thing you can do. It just devalues it straight away. So it's affixed permanently to the hardboard.
Right, I don't like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was stupid there, but that's the only time I've made. So with that one, with Topkapi, you can even see the folds from the crease, which
Yes.
I don't mind. I'm happy to let it be like that. And in any case, most of my film posters are folded up in a drawer anyway. They're not framed.
And even with this, even with this poster that I'm enlarging, it's kind of dark in here. But even this insert poster, it looks good, right? But when I first got it, it was really like in great condition, right? And flat, very flat, no wrinkles or anything. And then I had it framed, and I had this in the living room for a number of years, sitting up, leaning kind of on an angle against the wall with the windows in it. There's windows, and on the bottom of the window, and also there's a heating, baseboard heat around there. So if you look at that closely, but you can't see here, there's a few like slightly little lump things going through it. And I'm like, man, it didn't look like that for many years, and I screwed it up. But
that's this is worth. If anybody's, I've got a feeling Spring Heel Jim will be interested in Oliver Stone for JFK, where he does quite a detailed commentary and gets most things right, I think. And with this one, this is Oliver Stone's version of Nixon, so he does a really informed commentary because he knows Watergate inside out, and I'm a bit of a Watergate buff. Like I must have read hundreds of books on Watergate and on JFK as well. So Oliver Stone is somebody whose audio commentaries are worth listening to if you're of that type of persuasion where you're deep into political history. And
not I. I'm just not my thing.
Okay, one other one. This has got nothing to do with Oliver Stone, but the commentary is by Robert Redford, and because he was a producer of this film as well as being in it, and because he was in on the pre-production of this film while Watergate investigations were still going on, like Redford was interested in following these two journalists from 1972 onwards, and this film didn't come out till 1976. So Redford, on his own, nobody else on the microphone, does a really good commentary for the 2.5 hours that this film goes on for. And of course, we've lost Redford as well now. So these kind of commentaries from these people are becoming quite historic now.
Yeah,
setting their thoughts down about how they set up this and that scene. So they're well worth. It's a quality to look for when you're looking for what edition of a Blu-ray or a DVD to buy, about things like that, about who's involved in any of the extras that were involved in the film.
Well, this is different because I keep going back to like a lot of like trash movies, but like trash, comparatively speaking. Are you familiar with the exploitation producer Sam Sherman?
Maybe some of his films, Joe.
Al Adamson, who directed stuff like Dracula versus Frankenstein from 1970, one of Lon Chaney's last films, and schlock films like that, and Paul Naschy, the Spanish werewolf star. Anyway, he was a producer, Sam Sherman, who he was into like kind of like William Castle a little bit, like a lot of schlock, and he like knew how to market. He would have these crazy titles, Blood of Ghastly Horror, and stuff like that, and like Frankenstein's Bloody Terror and stuff like that. He'd do these sensational things. The only reason I'm mentioning him is his commentaries are amazing. He's very entertaining, and he talks about all little anecdotes, and what it was like working with like J. Carrol Naish and Lon Chaney played like their last parts, more or less, in this Dracula versus Frankenstein film. They started at 1969 into 1970, and then they shot more footage in 71, and then it took 3 years, and they changed. It's one of the like Ed Wood type movies,
What was his name again, Joe?
The director or this producer?
The guy who's doing the audio commentaries.
Sam Sherman.
Sam Sherman. Okay, I'll try and remember that.
Yeah, I think he just passed recently too. And it's funny because Al Adamson, who was the director, directed a lot of kind of movies like that, biker movies, and they were low budget exploitation fare for like drive-ins. And he wound up hiring somebody, the director, now talking about Al Adamson, to work on his, geez, what was it, a jacuzzi or his yard or something? Anyway, they found him buried underneath the hot tub or something in the cement. The director met a fate like the people in his movies. The guy who came to work for him, did him in, as they say. Anyway, it's just a little fun fact on the side.
Well, just like there are soundtracks I used to buy with no interest in going to see the film at all, but I was so interested in the composer that I would buy the soundtrack of the film. And in a similar way, I can easily see myself buying a Blu-ray, not so much for the film, but if the commentary comes recommended as being lively, then I would buy it for the commentary. And if the commentary was good and the film wasn't so good, I wouldn't feel ripped off. I'd feel like I got my money's worth in a different way.
I would recommend, if you really want to take a chance, think of that movie Dracula versus Frankenstein.
Right.
Make sure it's the right one though, because there's another one that shares the title like that, and it's not the same.
So the best thing to do is to go by the year then. Huh?
Well, I think they're both similar years. But the thing is, though, you just want to make sure it's the one with Lon Chaney and J. Carrol Naish in their last. They say it's the last film. I'm pretty sure it's J. Carrol Naish's last film. Lon Chaney, I think, made one more after that, and he has no voice, and he's very heavy, and it's exploitive.
Off the top of your head, Joe, can you remember what label that DVD or Blu-ray?
Hold on a minute, I can get it. You two chat away a little bit here.
Right, yeah, the one with the commentary. See if I've got anything else to. Since Joe's a big Charlton Heston fan, so this is an Orson Welles film.
Oh, I love Touch of Evil.
Right, so here you've got Charlton Heston and Janet Leigh doing the commentary, one of the commentaries on it anyway. So that's quite interesting to get, if you can get that version with their. I think their commentary actually transfers onto different Blu-ray editions. So in America, you'll probably have the same.
What do you think of them reworking that to the point of the way Wells intended? They redid the scene, they restructured.
Well, it's funny. There are pros and cons. The famous big tracking shot at the beginning.
Yeah.
I like Henry Mancini's main title music, and I can understand why Orson Welles was upset, because what he wanted is, when this roving camera is going through all these streets, you get the different soundtracks of the street. So he wanted the sound effects of the street to cover. So I can understand Welles's reasoning, and I like the opportunity to see it that way and hear it that way. But the fact is, I'm quite attached to Henry Mancini's main title music, and I prefer it myself. It's a privilege to have both. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, this happens. I really have to get going, because I'm late. But let me show you this anyway. Now I'm just realized I have the DVD over here. This is an old DVD, and this is a DVD. Dracula versus Frankenstein.
Right. What's the label, Joe?
This one's Shriek Show, but that's 2012 Shriek Show.
And is that the one with the commentary on it? Yeah,
they all have the commentary, but there's also, in more recent years, this has been done again on a Blu-ray. I'm not sure what the Blu-ray. I mean, it'll only take a moment to find that. Talk a little bit amongst yourselves again, and I'll be done. Because let me get out of this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe make yourself small. I'll tell you a fun commentary. If you ever just want to hear a fun commentary, and it's a Blu-ray that you used to be able to pick up cheap. I don't know if you still can, but the 1966 Batman movie. Adam West and Burt Ward do the
Yeah.
commentary, and they keep
Absolutely.
slipping into character. They keep
Absolutely.
slipping into Batman and Robin, and it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, dead right. And that reminds me, Tim. I think a real missed opportunity. You know, when they put Thunderbolt and Lightfoot onto Blu-ray, why on earth they didn't get Clint Eastwood and Jeff Bridges together to do a commentary? Because Jeff Bridges is so affable, and they got on really well in the film. Why they didn't get them both in the same place to do it would have been a fantastic extra to that, to have them both reminisce on the audio commentary.
No, that's another thing I don't like about modern movies. When they do come out now, most movie outlets, companies, they don't want commentaries anymore. They certainly don't want director commentaries.
Wow.
All they want is 5-minute fluff pieces. We'll run 4 5-minute fluff pieces, and that's all you get. And I hate that.
Right.
You know, there hasn't been a director commentary in like 10 years by a major, Universal or anybody like that. They just
that's the low attention span of modern culture all over, I think.
Well, guys, we're just getting started, but I gotta go. As far as the more recent Blu-ray, can't find it. I've misplaced it.
Okay,
but if it really means that much to you, it shouldn't be that hard to find. Just make sure it's the one directed by Al Adamson, and make sure if you're interested, because I'm saying it's a bad film, but I don't know how much you like exploitation like that, and the fact that the 2 horror stars from House of Frankenstein are in it.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough.
It also uses Kenneth Strickfaden's original Frankenstein electronics in it, in color.
Oh wow! So
same ones from the original Frankenstein. He let them use it, and the commentary talks all about that and how he was really nervous about. He didn't want them to ruin it. Be careful with them and that kind of thing.
So that was before Young Frankenstein, then, right?
Yes.
So they made the breakthrough in getting.
That's true. I didn't think of that. Right, because Young Frankenstein also. Yeah.
So
they had a few of the original. Yeah. Well, guys, this has been a pleasure. I'm sorry I got to cut it. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, 4D Man.
Thank you.
And talk to you soon, everybody. Thank you, everybody watching. Appreciate that.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.